Welcome to the Head Guy podcast. As I always say, this podcast has been brought to you by, make sure that I've got it right, Cards in Qatar, the #1 website for all your cards. Birthday cards, greeting cards, farewell cards, sorry you're leaving cards, get well cards, etc., etc. #1 website here in Qatar and the cheapest place to get your cards. And this podcast has been sponsored by Mahaba, the #1 destination guide here in Qatar that's been going over 20 years. Actually, I spoke to Hillary the other day and I forgot to ask her how many years they've been going. Anyway, so I have a very special guest today. Her name is Rochelle Zonnenberg.
Yes. Well, you got that right, so that's good.
I had to clarify that at the beginning before we went on air because I didn't want to get it wrong.
No, it's not an easy one to pronounce.
It's not, is it?
It takes practice, but it's okay.
So welcome, Rochelle.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, it was my sales and business person,
Right?
the lovely Crystal, that found you.
Yeah.
And she said, you need this lady on the show. And I went, checked out your profile, and I thought, yes, she's got a story to tell. So I'm just, as always, I just have a glance at your LinkedIn, etc., etc.
Right.
And I'm just curious because you started, you did a bachelor's degree in mass media
Yes.
and did an advertising major.
Yeah.
So what's the story behind that? Why?
Why? Well, why? I think like early on, at least back home in India, there were at that point a lot of options to choose from and what I wanted to study. Psychology was one of them.
Nice.
However, I didn't happen to get the grades that I needed. So this was sort of the backup plan of what I wanted to do because I've always been kind of a people's person and been, out and about, always doing different things. And I did want to get into mass comm, and it was a brand new course that had just started off in the same university that I already was enrolled in. And so it felt like it was just there calling out to me. So right away I went and applied and graduated in that. Yeah.
Congratulations. Is there a part of you that still wants to do the psychology, or are you dabbling, or
well, I'm a mother of two, so I think the
Okay,
psychology
so you're-
part kind of just applies every day.
every single day?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So, okay, you graduate, but then I'm curious because then I look at your, the work that you did after that. You went to be an account executive for Good Relations India.
Yeah.
What was that all about?
That was PR. So
Okay.
I worked for a PR agency very briefly, and very quickly wanted to kind of at that age also travel the world, and applied for a job here in Qatar. And I moved.
Yeah, because
4 months on,
Yeah,
I
because-
was here in a new country.
because that's a big jump. You did your major advertising, go for a PR company,
Yeah.
and then you decide to no, I am going to travel the world and I'm going to work for one of the big airlines.
Yes. Yeah. And it just sort of, yes. I thought at that time, if I didn't do it then, it would be probably too long and too late to be able to get the time to then travel. So it was just one of those jumps that I had to do when the opportunity came. And I said, okay, you know what? This is my chance now to make the move. And young decisions, I guess. But never regret any of them. So
No,
I'm
absolutely
very glad that I made that swap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how was it? How was
was
that experience?
Absolutely brilliant. Until a certain point of time. And then again, you kind of, I guess everyone has that every few years. You assess where you are and what you want to do ahead. And it just seemed like working at the airline and flying was just exhausting me physically. And so again, that kind of swap again happened where I decided to move back to India.
Yeah, because I'm curious because why Qatar Airways and not any other airline, like a local airline or another international airline?
I did. I mean, I guess like everybody else, it's not like you just happen to stumble upon something and find the job immediately. So I did apply for a lot of places.
did?
Yes, I did. I knocked on a lot of doors, got rejected many times. It was too skinny, too short, too tall, whatever the options are. I guess that always is, right?
Really?
Yeah. Of course, I think with every job, there's those kind of things that come along.
But do they actually say that?
Yes, they do. Well, I think they did. I don't think they do
Okay.
anymore. So I'm talking about a couple of years
you
ago
are
when it
talking
was still acceptable.
2005.
Yeah, what things were acceptable. I'm glad, happy that those things are not said and done anymore. But that was the case, and I think it was the right opportunity for me to move to Qatar.
I'm just curious, what is it like to be cabin crew?
Tough.
And what kind of lessons did you learn?
Oh, a lot of life
Well,
lessons there.
Tell us.
I think being a lot of times people look at it as a job that's just more fun and exciting in that right.
Mm-hmm.
However, the case is one of loneliness. Lost in new places, having to constantly adjust to new things, not being able to make friends as easily because everyone's on a different roster or role. So all these complications do come, but it gives you the strength to kind of go on and, things that you would not get doing a mundane 9-to-5 job where you can actually build relationships and build progress within your workforce. So all those little things were kind of the force maybe where I am right now a little bit.
Yeah, that's interesting because you don't really see that. You don't really think about it.
Yeah.
About the whole relationship that you build with your fellow colleagues.
Yeah.
And you're right. You probably do varying shifts. So you will every shift you won't be on the same.
Yeah.
With the same crew.
Almost never. With a company as big as it is, there is a 0.0%, 1% chance that you actually do happen to fly with one person that you know. So you're constantly having to start from scratch every single day.
Well, yeah, that's just what popped into my head. It's just like, do you even bother to start from scratch, or do you just get on with the job in hand and don't, because you'll never see that person, probably won't see that person again?
Well, it depends. I think like most relationships, there has to be like a back and forth or an energy, at least, that you feel with someone. So there are things there are times that you'll just get to work and make sure that you're doing your job. And then there are days that you can still meet somebody that you think that you have more things in common with and continue. But that's just life, right? So you have to make the most of it.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
But what was it like? Okay, so you're flying around the world. What was generally the turnover? How many days would you... Because I only asked that because my father-in-law used to work for British Airways.
Right.
But that was the good old days where, they would fly to Australia and then they would have a whole week before they flew back.
Right. Well, the turnover is very quick. So I still think when I joined, there were a couple of those trips that were the 3 days, 5 days.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist, or very quickly that changed even when I was at the company.
So on average, what is it?
You get about 7 days off where you're in the country or sometimes outside. So you could basically be anywhere for most of the month, right? So and
you could be with anyone. So
you could be with any amount, like different nationalities of crew, but also really mostly by yourself. So I think the idea of...
Do you not all team up together and then go, okay, we're out the door, we're gonna check in, and we're out the door and we're gonna go to A, B, C?
Well, that would happen very occasionally if everyone's sleep cycle or rosters have kind of been around the same, so they have the energy to go out.
Yeah.
But usually if you get into any country, everyone's already coming from somewhere else. So their sleep routine, their eating routine, everything is different. So most times you're by yourself at any of these places.
So can you hold down your own routine? How do you look after yourself? How do you, keep on top of, what you're eating, how you're looking after yourself in regards to exercise?
I think that can go all over the place very quickly. No matter how hard you try to stick on and stay with routine, you also just have to adjust with the kind of food that's available wherever you are. So I just being mindful. I was always mindful of where I was eating, what I was eating. However, also not being able to give up on the fact that I did take up the job to enjoy myself and travel all these countries and try and try all the cuisines around the world. So it's a balance. But I guess when you see that roster that you get, you already have made up your mind what you're gonna do, when you're gonna sleep, and kind of mentally made a schedule for yourself.
When you get the roster, how far in advance does it go? Is it like a week, 2 weeks, a month, or?
No, it's just a month, and
Okay.
we used to get the roster a week before, so we
Okay.
had a week to plan out the rest of the month.
What
Yeah.
would you say is the best place that you visited while doing that job?
Oh, so many.
No,
I will
there
just
must
say
be
it's
one that just
impossible.
stood out for you.
It's impossible to point one. I'm a travel junkie, so yeah, I think a little bit of me is just everywhere. Yeah.
Okay, so you were working on the planes for 5 years, and then you went into recruitment.
Yes.
So that's more an office job.
Right. More office job, but also can travel, but longer travel.
Okay.
So that swap came from the company where they asked, they wanted expertise of people that were already flying to make sure that they would go in with the HR team to know exactly what kind of person, sit through the interviews and know what kind of person would be able to deal with the on board kind of issues. Because I guess HR in general, they're great at recruiting. They recruited most of us, but just to have the hands-on kind of background experience of what we do.
What were you looking for? What kind of characters would be ideal for that job, for that role?
Really strong-willed characters. Often during the interviews, we found, we sat through interviews where people weren't really had issues with families and those kind of things were already a little bit of a put off, only because you need them to be a lot more stronger when you come to a country like this, and they're going to spend most of their time alone. So having those issues are not really going to help them be good at their jobs if they're constantly being worried about what's happening at home. So having to find that balance of like someone who has been through a tough time and come out of it, but if they were there very deep in a problem at that moment, then yeah, it's just those little things that you would like pick up on.
I'm just curious because you mentioned being on your own a couple of times or a few times.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that? What would you do to fill that time, fill that space?
Reading a lot. I miss that. It's one thing I don't get to do anymore, or it's not as much as I'd like to with the kids, but that was one thing I did a lot, reading.
Wait, you can read to them, can't you?
I do, but it's different kind of reading, right? It's always the question.
How old are they?
They're 5 and 6.
Yes, it's a different type of reading.
Yeah.
I always struggled with my. I've got 2 young ones, or they're not young anymore. They're 14. Is he 13 and 10?
Yeah.
But like my battery, it's on fire in the morning and then it just literally dwindles by the evening. So the last thing that I ever wanted to do was to read a book.
Yeah.
So I would miss pages. And as they get older, they're more aware
they probably already know the story.
Well,
So
exactly. So they know that you've missed a couple of bits from the
Yes.
pages, and they go, "Oh, Dad, no, no, that didn't happen," or "No, you've
Yeah.
missed something."
Yeah.
You're just like, oh.
Yeah.
Or
And it's also just when you fall asleep.
absolutely, or they pick up. So we would always say, "Go and pick a book," and they would always pick the biggest book, and it's just. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the chapters weren't short.
I know. I can't wait for them to already read to themselves, by themselves.
Yeah,
Which is already started with the older one.
Yeah, but you do
So,
miss it, even though you're always looking forward to the next stage. But
Yeah,
then
I guess
there's
that's
a part
true.
of you that misses.
Well, 10 and 13, I'm not looking forward to that. I know, with two girls.
Oh, I've only got one.
Yeah.
She's the cherry on the cake, and she makes sure that you know that she is.
Yeah.
Okay, so so then you decide to move back to India.
Yes.
Why? What was there nothing here to?
No, just regulations within the country. I was getting married at that point, and Qatar had this strange, at that point, a regulation where if you worked for a company, you couldn't work for 2 years. You had a 2-year work ban. And that kind of didn't sit with me, right? Because I'm not this person who can actually be, not doing anything. I've always worked my whole life. So I wanted to go back and be able to find a job and, also live home for that year and a half or year to just enjoy home, because I didn't have time growing up as much. As soon as I finished university, I moved out.
Yeah.
And so that was nice to be back home with the family for some time.
And you were a deputy manager?
Yeah. I again stumbled to move back to India without a job, just met some friends and kind of put the word out that I was back again in the country and was looking for a job. And so I got hired at a media company that also has the licenses to do the Miss India. It has the Miss India organization licenses and the Miss Universe and the Miss World and all of those around the world.
Yeah.
So I was part of that for 2 years.
And there was no stipulation of what you looked like, what size you were, etc., etc.
No, I was man. No, but there was a lot of that, of course. But because I had experience with the airline recruiting, and so I did a lot of that with the events and managing all of them.
Very good.
Yeah.
And then you decided to move back.
Yes, it was time to move back. I had a
Was
long
that-
distance marriage.
Yeah, so Mr.
For some time.
Mr. Zonnenberg,
Yes.
I presume he was based here.
Yes.
So that's the
So,
reason why you
yeah.
wanted to come back.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I moved back, and I still had the ban for about 6 months, left, that I couldn't work.
Ah,
But within that time, I started looking for jobs within the country, and so very quickly, as soon as the ban was over, I was able to move into my next job.
yeah. How was that? Qatar living it was around when I moved here in 2006.
Yeah,
It's always been there. It's always been a source of information. It's been a source of advertising, etc. It's probably one of the first major
Yeah.
websites here
Yes.
in Qatar.
Well, the website, I think, started like a blog, like anything else, right? But it was also open to public. So when I joined, it was a very small, tiny office. We operated out of Tornado Tower with 4 of us.
Oh, really? Even in 2014, it was
Yes.
still.
Yes, it was really tiny. Very small operation. I think it still is. Obviously doubled in size and maybe a larger office space, but it's still quite a family kind of situation at the office there, which is very nice. And so I joined their sales team, and I wanted to have a job again that I was able to travel. So they offered me that. They gave me that option of being able to do sales and marketing, but be able to have my own freedom to get in and out of the country whenever and as much as I could.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They gave you that space.
Yeah.
Not that it involved within the actual position, but they just.
It
allowed
was it was on more on a freelance base, so I
Okay.
was able to work from anywhere,
you. Okay.
and that was obviously the added benefit directly with the job. So
So I'm curious because now we're coming up to what you're presently involved with. What was the point where you decided to go it alone? And, where was the light bulb moment?
The light bulb moment was when I had my older daughter, and she was about 3 months, and I was still taking her. I was taking her into work, rocking her, and sending emails and having few days at work and at home. And I just thought I could. It wasn't the time for that. I wanted to be able to work on my own time and be able to have that again, the freedom to spend more time with her. And so the idea just came out from that, and I said I have to. If I can't find a job in the country that will give me the freedom to do that, because at that point, and I'm not sure even now, if the situation is where mothers do have, part-time jobs, that's not something that is still very, very freely available here. And so that was a big reason for me to make that swap and move to start Hobby House Qatar.
But where did the idea come from? I can understand the pull to be with your children and not have the responsibilities of a part-time job or a full-time job. But where did the actual idea come from?
The idea was always there, but I think it came from my own need. So when I was in the country and flying all those years, it was always that time that I had in between, but could never actually find a course, a hobby to pick up, because everything needed a long-term commitment. You needed to sign up for 3 months, you needed to sign up for 6 months, and it was very expensive. So it just came out of my own need, where I said, why is something as simple as this just not available? Because Qatar as a country has a lot of expats. People are moving in and out. People are not able to do something with as much commitment, because they know in the next 2 months they're already going to leave to see family or whatever it is. So I kind of took that and like put it into a capsule and made it a bit easier for people to go and use their free time in Qatar, which a lot of people here I think do have, because we do have a lot of single people living in the country, and just give them that space to be able to learn something new and pick it up and then continue on, in whatever direction they would want in the future.
But I'm curious, because as you were talking, something kind of came out from your past experience, as you said, from your past experience of being frustrated about not being able to learn new things or sign up because of the way you were working, but also something came up in regards to being alone.
Yeah.
That you created something that was which brought people together as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about the hobby. The hobby was kind of the attraction, but actually now here's a place where people can actually meet other people.
Yeah, not at all. So and exactly that's what happened. A lot of times I'd still meet people that would say, oh, I went to a workshop and I actually made friends with someone, and of course they met at this place where they both enjoy a certain craft, and they continue to do it on their time off, or have built a small little community of people that they know that enjoy it. So yeah, that sense is definitely in there.
And did you have any kind of craft or any skills that you brought to the table, or you were just looking at, well, here's a need, I will create a platform and then I will bring the right people to that platform to teach?
Well, I do different kind of craft, and it's something that I've learned, over the years at home back in India. It also stems from a little bit of my parents bringing us up, where we never actually got any time wasted was, basically a sin. So they'd make sure that we would always sign up for things that we would, be able to learn and continue on. My family also comes in from a business background, so I think those two things kind of came together and formed the company in a way.
And did you ever have any entrepreneurial kind of feelings before this?
always, but also in a way just being around constantly. My dad, my sister, my mom owned a boutique back in India, so it was always the normal everyday conversations that kind of happened in the household,
Yeah.
about business, or about solving problems, or about starting something, or about changing the way they work. So I think I was already in that environment, and most of us operate most like 50% on history and then part on imagination a little bit. So I guess it's always been in there.
Yeah.
So it comes quite naturally. Like if I see a problem, then it's straight away, okay, what can I, what idea could I come up with to like solve this?
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that was going to be my next question: is how's the journey been from having the idea to actually putting it into place and getting it up and running? What's the reaction been? How do you get the word out there, etc., etc.? Let's start from the beginning.
No, so yeah, of course, great. I started off, I think, was 2016. I think Qatar was still new with like small businesses, popping up. So the enthusiasm was there. However, the systems were not in place to be able to start anything like it.
So how did you work the
So
systems?
it's a lot of mingling around and being able to talk to people and getting connected to as many people and putting the idea out there, from customer base to licensing and all of it. And it's just the good thing about Qatar is that it's small. So everybody knows someone that could be able to help, that's able to help.
Yeah.
And I think all it takes is just kind of getting out of your shell and being able to put the idea out there. So as soon as that happened, the ball kept rolling.
Yeah, I just want to stop you there. Did the experience of working as cabin crew help when you're meeting new people?
Well, always.
Putting the word out there?
Yeah, so that's why I say just with the person that I am, or in general, all the experience that I've had, basically helped me be able to start this eventually. Because I don't know. I was working on all of these parts of my personality, of myself. Just developing all these traits. But it helped me start off Hobby House. Yeah.
But I'm curious because, as you said, you had 2 small children.
Yeah.
While you're setting all this up, and the whole point of setting this up was the fact that you would spend more time. So was there not parts of you that were just like, I should be spending more time with my children and I'm having to go out and
No, it gave
network?
me a lot of drive, I think. It was also not being able to get to a workplace also meant that I found the need to like be constantly working while I was taking care of them. And it's amazing. I think I had more drive then sometimes than I have some drive these days about running the business, because they've taken over that in a way. But it's amazing what having children will kind of do to you if you've always been in the workforce and you want to somehow get back to it. Yeah,
absolutely. And how did you manage your time between family and starting a business? Because that's always an issue for entrepreneurs, is the fact that they're thinking about the business 24/7. That's literally their focus.
Yeah.
Especially in the early days, because it's just like, look, I need this to succeed, so I'm going to do everything. I'm going to work all hours to make this happen. Because I remember looking at pictures of me with my daughter when she was a baby, and I've got the laptop on my lap and I've got my daughter in my arms.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not focusing on her. I'm focusing on what's on the screen.
Yeah. Well, the lines are very blurred. I think it's a 24-hour day work in that term, in terms of that, because any time that you get off, you're thinking about how to grow the business, how to build a business, how to connect with someone, but also the little sleepless nights where you kind of I use that time to make sure I wrote down little notes in between.
Really?
Yeah, I did, because it's kind of dead work where you're also just having to hold a baby in the middle of the night and rock them asleep, and you might as well make use of that time.
I never saw it
So,
like that. I always saw that it was like torture. And I can see how sleep deprivation is used for torture, because it's there's nothing like it.
yes.
And to actually, so I was always thinking, please just go to sleep, so I've got some time for the day to be normal, because I knew
Yeah.
that any time that I'll be awake during the night, that would affect me the next day.
Yes, but it's also not so easy to just fall asleep
No,
as
it's
as a
not.
baby, right?
it's
so
not.
so
No, it's
so it's
not.
those little moments where you're just frustrated that you want to sleep but you cannot sleep. So now you've just got to make the best of what you already have. And it so it was multitasking, but I think that's another skill that you learn being a parent, right? So,
And I think it's easier for women rather than for men. I don't think we're very good at multitasking.
but it's easy for men to fall asleep as well.
Well,
so.
that's true. Yeah, but I had a son that literally would drink his milk, and then it looked like he was falling asleep, and you're going, so you're in the mindset of like, okay, I'm going to fall asleep as he's falling asleep. And then you would twitch, and that would like, he'd be like alert and going,
Yeah.
okay, ready, where's my next milk, or
Yeah.
I'm ready to play. And it's just like, no,
No, go back to bed.
absolutely,
Yeah.
go back to
Yeah.
sleep, please.
Yeah.
Go back to sleep. And then there would be this tug of war.
It's a tough time.
It's a very
It's a
tough
very
time. I
tough
call it a
time.
tough season. You know, it's a
Yeah.
season that you have to go
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
And I think our season was longer than most. With
Oh, I
Our
think
son.
I had my oldest daughter did pretty much exactly. She had a sleep apnea problem, which we had no idea about. So it was sleepless nights, countless sleepless nights. But yeah, it's just one of those things.
yeah, I heard the big sigh.
We're over it now.
No, exactly. So going back to the business, how do you find the right people to, plug in to your business? Because I went on your website, I saw that you've got the different experts,
Yeah.
or the different teachers. How do you find those people?
A lot of research, a lot of the good thing about social media is that you can, it's the easiest Google search, I guess, if you have a tag word and then you know exactly who to find. Also, again, Doha being small, you always get connected from one artist to the next. There's also a lot of experience and expertise in the country, which I felt like hasn't been used completely, because a lot of people come in, join their husbands or their families, and they're very skilled professionals, but have had to kind of make the choice to either stay home with the kids or not be able to find the job that they actually want to do. And this is something in between. Purpose. It's a team of people that all have the same kind of drive and skill and purpose towards like doing something for themselves. And so it wasn't easy, but it was just, again, like a snowball effect. Once you do find one person, then it's always you get connected to the next, or then when you reach out to someone, there's 100% enthusiasm to work and to meet other like-minded people. And so it happens very organically, if I may say. Yeah.
No, I love that, because that's why we did Doha Heat, and we started in 2014, because that's what I saw, was that there was a lot of trailing spouses that were following their partners who had the main job,
Right.
and then they weren't able to work.
Right.
But they they had amazing stories, or they had experience, or they were sports stars, but
Yeah.
they were here because they were following their husband or their wives, because
Yeah.
it's
It's
male
either,
and
yes.
women. And I thought, wow, there's so many fantastic stories to be told here. And they're just sitting at home, not able to share or not doing anything.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious, because while you were speaking, wouldn't this place be an amazing place if there was a way that the trailing spouses could just literally set something up themselves? If they had a business before, just because they're following their spouse,
Right.
and the system isn't in place at the moment where it's easy to set up a business.
No, it's not, but I do think that is coming.
I feel it.
yeah.
I do feel it.
Because I feel like the 10 years that I've worked on building this is now I see people that are starting to build their own little businesses right now are having it a little bit more easier. Yes, it's still a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of back and forth, trips to offices, translations, all of that. But it's there, it's coming. And so I think you just have to like wake up and feel motivated and not like take every day at a stride, and say, today, even if it doesn't work out, I'm still going to try and make sure to get that paper and move forward.
No, I remember when I set this company up in 2011, all the hoops that you had to jump through, all the paperwork that you had to go through. And through time, as you say, it's got easier. There's systems in place. There's stuff that you can do online, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So, like everything here, it's just been a work in progress, and things have got easier.
Yeah, I think the country in general is it's still a young country, and so
absolutely.
you expect a lot from Qatar. However, they're still learning to bring people together, and there is a lot of effort being made right now at the moment, with small office spaces opening up, because there was a lot of problem trying to get an office space that we could pay rent. That little things like that when you add up, just doesn't make sense to open a business, because you have zero profit at the end of the day. So those things are changing. And hopefully, maybe in the next 2 years, I feel like it's probably going to accelerate and go much faster than it has, obviously, in the last decade. Yeah.
So how has it been, and what have you learned from running this business?
So many things. I think it's just, again, like just the fact that how hard it's been to start and keep it running. Also, COVID being an extra added burden put on everyone.
How did that work for you? Because your business is very much turn up, be taught, etc. Did you go online?
We tried to. However, trying to get supplies to people was becoming very, very difficult. So personally, we just decided, okay, let's just shut down for some time. And there was also an overflow of hobbies and options online for people to kind of, pick up and do with whatever craft or art supplies they already had at home. So I decided to just use that time to enjoy my time with the family. And then as soon as COVID, I don't know, I can't even say COVID, disappeared or went away. I mean, it's still there. But when things slowly started to creep in and get normal again, we went back on, started workshops in person. We just had to reduce the number of people because there were all these regulations.
Well, yeah, I can imagine, especially because everyone's touching things. You've got
you just learn to work around the scenario, the situation. So that's one of the things, I guess, with business. I mean, right now we're in this phase where there's a lot of, the market is saturated with the number of workshops or options of things that people can do, because since the World Cup, it seems like there's a whole new bunch of things to do in the country, and it's almost not enough time for people to enjoy that.
I hear you. I saw it after 2006 with the Asian Games. There was a whole burst of, there was a lot of people that came into the country that saw a lot of opportunities. So there was a lot of businesses that opened during that time. And then I felt that again after the World Cup.
Right.
People see the opportunity, they have an idea, and they go, hey, look, they haven't done this, or let's do that, or hardly anyone's doing this.
Yeah.
So there is a splurge of...
There's maybe way too much for the amount of people that are actually in the country. So again, it gives us a time to sit back and think, what's missing? What else can be done to kind of still bridge the gap, and so hopefully we'll be moving in a different direction this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you gonna give us a clue, or?
Just work towards helping the community try and build more businesses like us. Give them the tools that they need for the ideas that are there. to be able to take that forward.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of workshops and trainings that are done in Arabic. However, there's again a big community that is not able to keep up with the workshops, or at least attend them and know what's going on. So hopefully that will be the next step for us to be able to move into that.
Oh, very good. How do you market yourself? How do you get the message out there that you are running the courses?
So one of our biggest marketing tools is word of mouth, and I think once people come to workshops, they are the best at telling the groups of friends of how well we do, or what they can learn. But then each and individual teacher that or mentor that trains at Hobby House is also the one that kind of helps us promote it. Social media is always there, so we do use that tool. However, with the algorithms these days,
No, it's not
I
working
feel
for
like
you.
no. No, it's not. I don't know. They keep changing the algorithms all the time, so it's been a bit hard to push the message out on social media. But we still work towards like that traditional sense of community, because we are a community-based company. The cafes that we work with, the mentors that we work with, the people that we work with, we bring all of these people together. So they are good tools, and they're good drives, for us to take the word across to more people. Yeah.
I'm just curious. Just take us through the journey of someone. So how do we find Hobby House, and what's the journey from finding you to actually turning up?
Oh, it's a very simple process, because we're at hobbyhouseqatar.com, and we have a website where you can book your tickets through the website. You get all the information on. You just show up at the location that's sent to you, and we arrange everything for you. So you're given an entire box of tools that you would need to even continue the craft ahead once you finish with the class. And from then on, you can always be in touch with us on social media, by phone, or directly in touch with the mentor that has been able to that mentored you through the course. And it's as simple as that.
Something popped into my head while you were talking, going back to your experience as cabin crew, because when people are in holiday mode, they kind of they don't really think. And they're like, that's why the signs are so big. That's why the alleyways are so big, because people are just in a daze, and they just I need to go to gate, and that's all they're focused on. Generally, they lose their bags or stuff like that. Did you make the process very easy, because what people are like? We're kind of lazy when we're signing up for things, or we need to be spoon-fed to be able to turn up at that point. That you've made the process so easy that all you need to do is just turn up, and we give you all the information, we give you everything. So when you turn up, and all you need to do is just turn up at this spot, sit down, and it's all there for you.
Yes. People love being spoon-fed. That said, again, within the country, there's not just one-stop shop where you can go and pick up all your supplies that you need. You do have to drive. So personally, I know what the effort is like to go to 5-6 different shops that are spread across the country to buy a kit, to then continue and give your 100% to that one hobby that you've decided to take up. And most people will give up, because it's either too expensive, it's either too time consuming. So we've narrowed down every single thing of that, and said, okay, if someone signs up, we want them to be serious about learning something. We want to give them 100% attention. We want to be able to not have them run around the country to look for supplies before they come to the workshop. And so that's exactly what we do. You're right. Probably somewhere in the back of my mind, the process of making it easy is there. But yeah, we're lazy as humans. We want everything. We're getting lazier. We want everything with a touch.
Absolutely,
but
some people do like that challenge. My wife would love that challenge, because she loves going to finding all these random shops.
Yeah.
And finding some nuggets of we used, because her hobby was to do interior design, so she would always be looking at stuff that weren't in your main shops.
Right.
And we didn't have IKEA in the
back in the day.
back in the day, so you literally had
Yeah.
to find these furniture shops
Yeah.
or these accessory shops, and it was like a treasure hunt. So you could make it for, you could do a treasure hunt for certain personality that would love that.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure anyone would sign up, because all that would happen would be that there's side to it where you just start holding on things that you think you want but you don't really
That's
need.
true.
So
And that's what she used to
we
do.
just streamline it for them so that they can just show up and use all their creativity at the class.
But wouldn't it be amazing just to see what people would turn up with?
Yeah. I'll I'm not sure.
Okay. So these courses, as you said, in the early days, you couldn't sign up to anything because they were over months, etc., etc. So how long generally are these courses?
Courses are just 1 day.
Okay.
It's 3 hours depending on the craft. So they're 2 or 3 hours, again, based on attention span. It's not something that people want to be sitting for 5 hours and 6 hours and doing. And then again, there are certain courses or certain workshops that we have over 2 days, because it's just not something that you would be able to learn within a certain time span, and so that's really narrowed down again. So we also have classes that are a bit advanced. So in terms of embroidery, if they do, if they've practiced at home and get better at it, they can come back for a bit more advanced class. Yeah.
And location, where are you located?
We are located all over Doha. So we're pop-up as a concept, which means we tie up with restaurants, cafes all around the city. And we work with them on a concept of give us the time when you don't really have a lot of business coming in and you don't know how to get people to walk in the door, and here we are to find a solution for you. And so they give us the space to use. People get to know about the new cafes opening up in Doha because they're like mushrooms, right?
They're popping up all over the place.
Yeah. So it's good for small businesses. So everyone benefits a little bit from it, but in whole, everyone can also walk away with something substantial from it.
Superb. So you get the space free, and they get
no, we don't do collaborative free spaces, because we do believe like if we are a small business, they also need to make
so
money.
You pay for this.
So everything is part of it. So when you pay for a course, you also get a drink as part of it, and then over and above you can order whatever else you need on your own.
And do you book the spaces based on how many people have signed up? How does that work? Because you don't want to be losing money by booking space before you know.
No.
How does that work?
We've built a good reputation, or at least a rapport as well, with all of our vendors and all of the cafe owners. So they're nice enough to know that if we have a certain amount of people, then they book, and a day in advance or so. We always let them know that we've had only these many signups, because it can be 12 people at a time, or maybe just 4 depending on the craft, and they're nice enough to give us the space that we need for that time.
Superb. Can you just let our viewers know the kind of hobbies that they can learn from you guys?
So we have embroidery, we have sketching, we have punch needle, we have watercolor painting, we have pasta making, we have pizza making for kids. I can go on and on. I can go on and on and on. But they should go. They should go to Hobby House Qatar on Instagram, or on our website, hobbyhouseqatar.com, and they can see the entire list of workshops available.
So you heard that here. Please go and visit the website. Moving forward, because you had the dream of traveling. You still travel?
A lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've got a business. How does the future look? I know you said you've got things in the works that that will expand the business, but where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years time?
I'm not sure. Still in Qatar. However, be able to leave some kind of legacy with Hobby House, starting off these kind of workshops. Hopefully someone will be able to take over. Hopefully Hobby House will be somewhere else in another country, and probably be doing the same and added workshops. Like I said, the business workshops that we're hoping will work out this year.
And do you see them still as being pop-ups, or do you see it going like an institution, like an educational institution? You could have the hobby educational institution.
No, not really.
No.
I don't see that. I don't see that happening. I like the fact that when things can stay small and streamlined, sometimes that's a better way to move forward and still grow branches, as opposed to be able to have a big space and take on too much liability that no one actually benefits from. We've always been community based, and so this will still continue to be that the community benefits from the business.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you see it as when you see it expanding to other countries, do you see it as a kind of a franchise that you could sell it as a franchise?
Yes, that's something on my mind. However, how it grows out to be, we'll have to see. Step by step. Yeah.
Superb. Well, thank you, Rochelle.
Thank you very much,
Very
Stefan.
enlightening. Thank you for letting us into your journey.
My pleasure.
It's been fascinating.
Thank you for having me.
And I wish all the best for Hobby House. And I think I will participate at some point.
Come
or
sign up.
I'll bring the children along.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Superb.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching. Just a big shout out again to our sponsors. It is Cards in Qatar, the #1 website to buy all your birthday cards, greeting cards, farewell cards, and Mahaba, the #1 destination guide here in Qatar. Pick up your book in any local supermarket or go online to their website. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.